Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here in Crested Butte, just camping outside of town, and as you can see, the fall colors are already starting to set in. It's really pretty around here, and I'm at about 9,700 feet at the moment. Seems like I can see the colors changing like every second or every hour. It's just changing throughout the day, and it's almost like you can see it happen in real time, so it's pretty impressive. But today was a momentous day. The podcast that I've been working on with my buddies Craig Coleman, and then originally it was Baron Link. He filled in when Craig was out the first part of the series. We hit our 50th episode today, which was really cool. And we talk about the van life phenomenon and how it's become so popular and it's ramping up so much speed that it's actually having a negative impact on dispersed camping in 8 different ranger districts in Colorado. And, I consider myself part of that movement. When I say van life, it just encompasses everybody that lives in their vehicle and that travels in the backcountry. But we talk about that. And, this is the podcast that won the Best of Denver's 2019 Best of Westword. It's a magazine. It's like a Village Voice publication. They have them all throughout the bigger cities in the United States. But it's kind of like the arts, and the culture. Like it's where you can look up a bunch of stuff about bands and get underground local information on cool bar scenes and stuff like that. But anyway, so their best of their Westward, best of Colorado or best of Denver is a pretty big honor to have, and for us to be recognized like that just after getting the podcast going just last year. To be recognized as the best of for 2019 by the Westward staff was quite the honor. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this. It's about I think it's a 6 or 7 minute segment, and then there'll be all the links in the video description below about how to tune in if you'd like to subscribe, or you can listen and stream it on any device. You just look under Nomad Ramblings Conversations from the Road. So here's a little snip from today's podcast episode. Thanks.
Operating out of Glenwood Springs, and he's paragliding. He's a raft guide as well, and respectful guy. When it comes to the environment. So Glenwood Springs has a law in place that no one can sleep in their vehicle between the hours of 10 at night and 6 in the morning. And he had a resident make a phone call to the police when he was just hanging out with his dog in the vehicle. And, a cop came over and it wasn't a comfortable interaction. But that's like a more, my sense is that there's just a creep of regulations and enforcement that is occurring through the Mountain West that is heavily limiting our way of life, and it's going to continue, right? I mean, it's bound to continue. And I don't know, I have empathy and understanding for the local residents. I mean, especially, I've never seen any conclusive data, but kind of anecdotal and common sense that you probably have a lot of shady characters that are living that way, and you don't want them to. You don't want to trash the area, and you don't want to have any influx of crime. And right. So I have empathy and understanding, but at the same time, it sucks. I mean, it's changing, right?
Yeah, and especially like you were pointing out, for people that live respectfully and just want to travel full time and don't want to be attached to a house, it's like that punishes us for wanting to live free and wanting to live minimally and have a small impact. At least that's the way I look at this lifestyle. And it's like you said, it just sucks. It's like you kind of just start thinking, okay, well, where else am I going to go now? Because if I can't camp in the spots that I normally would enjoy and do it respectfully and know that I'm not trashing the land and stuff like that, then I'm like, if I don't have that option, I don't necessarily want to camp around a bunch of people. We had that one weekend, and there's nothing wrong with this, but we had that one weekend where it was just like an influx of people to that one site that we were at on the river on Slate that has that pit toilet. And it was just too much, because it's like, we're not used to being around people all the time. And so when, like,
and there was also that it kind of turned into like almost a rave kind of feel to it, where you had, a lot, and if people want to have a good time and drink and like, I'm all for that, but it's um, yeah, it's just not comfortable. But go ahead. I kind of interrupted you there.
Oh no, that's okay. It's just like what I was saying was is like it's encouraging me to look elsewhere, and that's why I've been applying to parks and rec divisions in other states because there are areas of the country that aren't inundated with people yet. But Colorado is just, it's been on the map forever. I mean, people started coming here heavily in the '70s when the ski areas really started picking up, and it's just gained steam ever since. And last year, I think the tourism numbers were 87.7 million tourists to the state. Now, 4 out of 5 of those were in Denver. You still have to think, okay, so 20% of that came into the mountain. That's 16 million people. That's a lot,
Yeah,
you know. And then the population forecast, since Denver's growing so rapidly, and same with Fort Collins and Colorado Springs, all of that spills over into the mountains. I felt it in Buena Vista the last 3 years, and luckily over here it's far enough away. But eventually the creep will just continue to come, and they're saying by 2050 that there's going to be an additional 5.5 million residents in the state. There's already 5 million residents here now, so that's going to double by 2050, and they said that 3.5 million of it will be on the Front Range, and then 1.5 million of it will be in the mountains.
gosh,
So it's just a big pinch. And the thing about it too is a lot of these areas, there's no more public land or there's no more private land available for sale. And you go into some of these counties, and it's like, okay, well, this county consists of 90% public land, and and by the way, all the private land is already owned. Okay, well, where are you going to go?
yeah,
But
and that drives prices up, and
yep,
it's. I mean, there's a multitude of factors that get impacted by this, and
right.
so I mean, there are two I don't want to say bad actors, but two groups that I see are really driving this faster than it needs to be driven, because the trend is the trend. And
Yeah.
like you were just talking about, private land is limited, so you have it's just so prices are going to go up, and public land is going to be impacted more and more. And the two factors that I see that directly correspond, or one of them directly corresponds to van life, is you have all these transit vans and sprinters. Like, it seems like the amount of vans that are out there have like doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Like,
Oh yeah.
the order of magnitude, it's been increased in an orders of magnitude, the number of vans that are out there. And it's not even those that are actually living in it. I think that you got a lot of weekend warriors
Oh yeah,
types
and I
that are
see,
coming.
yeah, and those rental companies every weekend, the
Right,
camper vans, and they're plastered with stuff. And I mean, I'm not faulting anybody for being enterprising, but you're definitely correct. It's like the truck camping, that's picked up steam, but that's still a small group. Not everybody
right.
has a truck. A lot of people will have other vehicles that they go out in, but the vans are the ones that you see coming, and then it's so easy to spot them. Solar panels on the roof, you know, reflectix on the windows. Okay, that person's full time in. Where are they going to stay when they're out here? They're going to stay in the backcountry. Are
Right.
they working? Are they working in town? And that's another thing too. Is like these towns, they want to have all their services. They want to have the coffee shop staff. They want to have the restaurant staff and all that stuff. But none of those jobs pay enough to where a person can actually live in town, or let alone buy land. So what option do they have? You
Yeah.
know, if somebody's
And
trying to get a toehold in the area, and they don't come from money or don't have money when they show up, they're going to try to work their way up. I know a lot of people that did that in Buena Vista. I know a guy now that teaches at the college in Leadville, and he truck camped for 3 years trying to get a toehold.
yeah, in the so I think, I mean, so the vans, there's two subsections in there. You do have the weekend warrior types, or
Mhm.
the people that are living on the Front Range or elsewhere that are vacationing. So those type of van drivers have increased. But then, like you were just talking about, you have the actual full timers in the vans that can't afford to live in, they can't afford property and what have you. And so what
Mhm.
do you do to get a toehold? You just, you figure it out. So you have that those two subsections of van dwellers. But then you also have, like you also mentioned, I've seen a huge influx of the side by sides, the razor type
Oh
vehicles.
yeah. Oh, those
where
things are
people are
horrible.
just trailering those in, and they're tearing it all up out there. And
Hmm.
I, we were having a good time, kind of cruising around in the Razor, when I was at the off grid monastery, and I think that there's a place for those, but again, it's like just the huge increase of numbers, and then you have the 5 to 10% of douchebags that
Hmm.
are running up the middle of Slate River Road, or not Slate River Road, but actually Slate River,
Yeah.
and so um, I
Y-
it infuriates me
Yeah.
because you do have bad actors that need to be clamped down on. But there's also, like, you and I have to admit it. We're in a way, you and I are part of the problem. I
Hmm.
mean, we're latecomers to the game, relatively speaking. Just getting into this in the 5, 6, 7 years ago. Even though we take great care in not being assholes,
Hmm.
um, we're still part of the numbers, right?